Welcome to the Australian Property Investment Podcast. We tackle the big questions in property investing. Our guests are industry experts, and we're fortunate to pick their brains on the challenges that investors often encounter when growing their property portfolio. Welcome to the Australian Property Investment Podcast. Let's start investing. Yeah, everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Australian Property Investment Podcast. I'm your host, Aaron Christie David, and I run a mortgage broking business called Atelier Wealth, where we specialize in helping property investors start out and scale up their property portfolio. And our guest today has done exactly that, started out and scaled up her own property portfolio. And I get a real kick. We often get to bring in what we call best in breed, so professionals. But I absolutely get a kick out of talking to clients because these are the real stories. These are what our own listeners want to hear from, which is people that have been there and done that. So the ups, the downs, the roller coaster that came with their own personal journey. And this is what resonates with a lot of our listeners. So Shari Adams is a wonderful client, but a great human being. And we're going to touch on your story in a second. But I want to say welcome to this episode, Shari, and thanks very much for jumping on.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
Look, I don't think I needed to twist your arm, but a little bit of convincing in the way that I think monkey brain kicks in for a lot of people going, have I really got a story to tell? Or people feel a little bit shy about, disclosing what they've got. So we're not going to go into intimate details here financially, but it's really around your story and the essence of your story is not taking no for an answer, which I think is a wonderful trait that you have got. It's obviously how our paths have crossed as well. But I think, yes, you've gone on to buy a few properties, but personally, I feel like I've got better for the experience because you didn't take no for an answer. And that pushes us to go, we've got to try and find a way. Let's push the boundaries here. And I think we've got better as a team and as a business for having met someone like yourself. So I want to say thank you very much for being a great client, but also for jumping on today as well.
Thank you.
Yeah. So
very kind.
No, not at all. Not at all. I think you've been generous with your time. So let's go back and rewind the clock, and we start with our 3 Ps about yourself personally, professionally, and your property journey. So I think your real big personal stories, you've come out of school and you've joined the police force, which is a big step for a youngster at that time. So what inspired the decision to pursue a career in the police force?
I think for me it was something different, and it was exciting, and I think in my mind, I always wanted to do that. I didn't see myself as an academic going to university and going down that field. So I left school and I applied for the police, and luckily I got in.
Nice one. And you were in the police force for quite some time, and we'll talk about kind of where your journey has got. But was it 12 years?
Yeah, roughly 12 years.
Yeah.
So I was pretty green and pretty fresh when I joined. I think I was 19 when I was down at the police college or the police academy, and left there when I was 20. So I was on the truck when I was 20 years old.
Wow.
So it was pretty steep learning curve, pretty fresh, and born and raised in a country town.
Yeah.
It was pretty scary being sent to the middle of Sydney for work when you're that young.
And especially it's when everyone's leaving the scene, you're the one coming to the scene perhaps. So you're kind of coming into some hairy situations that probably builds, I guess, a little bit of thicker skin for you as well, kind of being in that career. Yeah,
definitely. You do get a thick skin, you build up your resilience, and I think, you are running into things when people are running out of things, but that's what you signed up for. So
I tip my hat, mate. It's very admirable what you've done, and then that professional journey then got you to a point where I think you've done a bit of PTSD and probably had to step out of your role, and that's probably a tough transition in and itself, right? Where you leave what you've known for quite some time. And then I think when we've spoken about it, is having a backup plan, and you think, gee whiz, now what?
Yeah, so that was personally a very big challenge, having entered the police force so young and done that for so many years, and thinking, might have been a bit naive thinking that was going to be my career for the rest of my life. But having no other qualifications, no backup plan, no plan B, to receiving, a certificate saying you've been medically retired, congratulations, thanks for your service, was pretty scary. And that for me was the moment where I was kind of like, shit.
Yeah.
What am I going to do? Like, I don't have any other qualifications. This is a life I knew. What am I going to do?
Yeah.
So I think that kind of tipped me into my property journey.
Yeah. And why property? I mean, as an asset class, for example, you got shares, for example, people to crypto. You could have gone down any path. What was the allure around property as an asset?
So, well, crypto, I have no idea about. I'm not even touching that.
I think people that even have crypto have got no idea at the moment.
Yeah, I have no idea.
And I do want to just, before we do kick off, just reiterate that this chat is general in nature and not intended to give advice. We'll give plenty of opinions if we have to, but not intended to give advice. So if you do need advice, please do seek out a professional. Continue.
Thank you. So, yeah, for me, I actually started, I first picked up a book about shares. So for me, it was with my PTSD, I had a lot of brain fog and I can't concentrate. I find it very hard. So of all things, it was a finance book laying around at home and I picked it up and I thought, I'll start reading this to try and train my brain, see if I can retain information. Started learning about shares and I was like, oh, this is actually like, this could be something that could be a thing. So the more I started reading about that and educating myself, started a little share portfolio, and then from shares, I started learning about property.
Yeah.
And the more I read about property and how you can use it to really sort of get yourself ahead in life, I sort of had a light bulb moment. It was like, I think I've just found the thing that can really help me out here.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was kind of by accident, I guess, that I came into the whole finance property.
Accidentally on purpose.
Yeah, it's almost like it was meant to happen. So, yeah, it was just basically trying to retrain my brain and to retain information. I ended up in this world where I really took a liking to property and saw the benefits and how it could really help me and was like, wow, I'm going to run with this. And
love it.
Here we are.
Yeah, here we are. So that's one part where you've taken, and plenty of people do this, where they'll read a book, for example. You go to any airport, you can pick up a book on property investing. I feel like there is a real plethora of books now around investing or buying property. So you've read the book, knowledge is one thing and executing is the next. So then what happens at the next point? We go, hey, look, I want to take some action here and your journey from that point onwards.
Yeah, so that I read the book, sort of had the knowledge and everything, but it's almost like I didn't want to take, not that I didn't want to take the leap, but it was very scary. And it to me, it was very uncomfortable because this was a world that I'm not familiar with property and investments and things like that. It was very scary for me to think that I might go and buy an investment property. What if it doesn't work out? Like thinking of all the what ifs.
Yeah. And
I think I ruminated on all these thoughts for probably a couple of months and then really narrowed down my research and thought, stuff it, I'm just going to jump in the deep end, and worst case scenario, I buy something, it doesn't work out, all my criteria and my metrics are completely wrong that I'm using to buy, so I sell the property and just pull out what I put into it, hopefully. Once I did that, bought the first property and I was like, okay, this is not too bad, and started sorting out property management, all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
And then was speaking to you and your team and getting all the finance and my head around everything. And then by chance, the agent that sold me that property called me with an off-market deal and was like, hey, would you be interested? So, of course, I was like, yeah, I'm a sucker for punishment. Let's send me the details and I'll have a look.
Yeah.
And I think I ended up with like 2 properties in 2 months.
And I think one part that you probably skipped over because I think you're that way inclined, which is it wasn't that easy at the start. I think you did take a few no's right? Especially around the finance side.
Yeah, sorry. I did skip over that. There were a lot of no's. So with me in my position, so I don't know if all emergency services are the same, but with the police, if you're medically retired, our death and disability payment kicks in. So it's kind of like a pension that we're on for a limited time. And with that and the hurdle that we faced and your team more so faced was that a lot of banks don't see that as income.
Yeah.
So it was all well and good for me to have the capital cash sitting there, but trying to find a bank or an institution that would recognise that payment as income was probably the hardest thing. So, yeah, there were a lot of no's, a lot of emails from me saying, what can we do? Find a way.
Yeah.
But, yeah, you guys, your team were absolutely phenomenal and you ended up finding me that institution that was happy to lend.
I appreciate it. And this is certainly no puff piece. This is not about us, right? But I think I say this is about you, which is anyone else may have given up. A couple of no's, for example, it's like, this is not going to happen. I'm just going to wait this out and maybe go back and get a job. And I was like, you just kept knocking on doors. And I think that's the resilience and that's the quality that will get you very far in life and a lot of other investors far in life, which is one of our last guests, his first property, tenants damaged it, wasn't getting rent for 5 months, multiple issues, for example, the insurer didn't pay out, didn't deter him. Kept going on. I was like, I'm not going to take no for an answer. Same type of quality or trait here, which is bank said no, broker may have said no. I'm just going to keep going till I get a yes. And that's probably an underrated or very not talked about quality, which is the value of persistence and resilience in action, which is, hey, look, I'm just going to keep going till 50 people have told me no, and then I think it's a firm no. But yeah, I think, and the part where you talk about us, that's the challenge when you go, hey, look, I've been told no. That's like a red rag to a bull for us. It's like, right, they've been told no, let's find a yes. If they choose not to do anything at that point, you go, look, whatever, the rate's too high, I don't like this particular bank. That's your decision. But we've been able to find a yes. And that's what good quality teamwork is all about, which is, hey, look, I'm going to trust you guys. Here's my situation. I think that's how it kind of started, if I can cast my mind back, which was, hey, look, I've been told no. I love when that conversation opens up and it's like, and I think I've got a complex scenario. I'm like, perfect, give it to us. Let's have a chat about it. And talking through is like, and then that level of trust that you probably have in us, and we've got to reciprocate that as well. Let's find a way. Let's turn over every single stone. And I think you're there pushing us going, hey, what's going on? How are we doing? It's like, yeah, let's deliver as well. So I think what I call is iron sharpening iron there a little bit, which is don't take no for an answer. Therefore, that's our kind of mandate as well. So you've got this level of confidence now. We go, look, I think the bank's going to say yes, let's go out there, start paying the payment. You've gone from 0 to 1 property to 2 pretty quickly as well, which kind of we see happen time and time again, which is the first one's the hardest. After that, then it's about making good financial decisions about, okay, how do I buy the next one? And then you've been able to go and acquire property number 3 as well. So take me through. Most people get to 2 and go, okay, yeah, I'll just sit pretty for a bit, but you're here pushing the envelope. So take us through the mindset of going, well, how do I not sit still?
Yeah, sorry, I should actually backtrack a little bit. And the last 2 I was speaking to, that was property 2 and 3. So prior to them, I now no longer hold this property, but the first ever property was a high density residential inner city Sydney. Fatal error. It seemed like it was good, but yeah, classic. I had no idea what I was doing. Bought a property. So yeah, got rid of that one because it was not performing.
And there are decisions that investors are faced with. Again, one of the other experts that we've talked to is this notion that when you buy property, you've got to hold it and you don't ever sell, for example. If that property becomes an Achilles heel, which it was, right? It was hard to get valuations on because it was homogenous in a city, wasn't hitting its goals from a capital growth perspective, and you probably face this hard decision going, I could hold it and I know it's going to take me to hold it. If I sell it and then suddenly it shoots up in value, then you've got this almost buyer's or seller's remorse off the back of that. So probably always on your mind going, do I sell it and kill like a little bit of the golden goose, which is giving you some cash flow and maybe some capital growth? Or do you take that and go, well, I can do something else better with that money as well, right?
I think the only option with that one was, for me, to crystallize the loss, get rid of it. I just didn't foresee it performing, growing in value as quick as I wanted. And also it was holding that asset was limiting my serviceability for anything else.
Yeah.
Because the bank was like, well, that's a liability. So, yeah, the option was get rid of it, cut my losses, move on.
Perfect. And then so for you to then go on this next few purchases, take me through your team. So a broker, for example, you conveyancer, use a buyer's agent, the thought process, do it yourself versus a buyer's agent. What was your thought process there?
So I didn't use a buyer's agent. Yeah. I think maybe I would in the future, just if it's a case of time. They have the time, they're doing it all the time. They have better opportunities. Yeah, very much so. But for me, I wanted to know how everything worked. I wanted to know how the trends work, what I should be looking for, so I can then, if I was to engage with a buyer's agent at a later date, I understand what they're talking about, what they're looking for, and I have that base level of knowledge.
I love it, yeah.
So, yeah, essentially it was you and your team sorting out my finances and me spending a lot of time crunching numbers on a computer and pounding the pavement myself, I guess, and looking for things.
So when you're doing your numbers and then you're wearing out some shoe leather as well, what are you looking at that's going to make your decision closer to a yes, and what are you striking off that was on your criteria, for example, as well?
So essentially for me, and again, this doesn't work for everyone, but this is kind of what I found worked. I'll be looking at things like what are the growth drivers of that area? Are there any future developments and things like that happening? Yeah. What are schools like? What's the supply and demand like? Diversity of industry. So I didn't want to buy into like a mining town or something like that. I wanted to make sure that there was a few different industries happening. So yeah, just like those little things, and actually looking at so like your real estate and your domains, there's a little bit of a lag with their data.
Yeah.
But looking at that and trying to look at what's happening, like how many houses are on the market in 1 month, and then versus the next month, have they gone down? Like, have they gone up? What's happening with that? So, yeah, just a lot of that, I guess.
Nice one. And did you enjoy like the idea to probably where I'm going with this question is a lot of people give that to a buyer's agent because I don't want to know about it. I want to pay someone to make that problem go away. Because I feel like you've almost enjoyed that part of the process, which is rolling your sleeves up, doing your own due diligence as well, getting a little bit more hands-on and active with your property investment journey. Is that something that you've probably enjoyed a little bit more, or is that something you just did out of, I guess, necessity when you went on to buy?
No, for sure. I definitely enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And I think as well, I both enjoyed it, but at the end of the day, if I purchase something based on all those things I'm looking at, if that doesn't perform as well as I hoped, then I've only got myself to blame.
Yeah,
I can't turn around and be like, well, this person said this or did this and that didn't happen. I'm to blame.
Yeah.
It was my research that didn't work, so change it.
Yeah, okay. And then looking forward, because you've obviously started, you've got a bit of a bug, the bug's bitten you. So the big question is like, do you have a goal in mind? Is there a certain point that you get, hey, look, I've got contentment out of this and enjoyment and this is what I'm working towards as well? What are some of your ambitions?
Oh, it's a dangerous question. So I'm very driven. If I want to do something, I always want to do it well and I want to succeed. So I guess double answer. Part one to the answer is my ego side of the answer is I want to definitely have a passive income of $1 million by the time I'm 40. So nice. I'm a few years off.
Yeah.
It is very ambitious, but I guess if you don't aim high, you don't achieve.
If your goals don't scare you, you're not thinking big enough.
Right.
Yeah. Right. So
that scares me. So
for a lot of people, I go, holy smokes. It's like, well, hang on. If I'm not thinking big enough.
Yeah.
There are people that are doing it. I'm not sure if I was listening to, Scott O'Neill, who's a buyer's agent, Rethink Investing. So it's been around for quite some time. His commercial property portfolio is valued at 75 mil.
Yes.
It's insane.
Yes.
But if he didn't think big enough, he wouldn't have got it. Now he's inspiring other people to get there because he's actually got a blueprint to do it.
Yep.
So if you're not thinking big enough, this will inspire someone to take some action. And you've been inspired by others who have taken action as well. So I say good on you for putting it out there as well.
Yeah. And I don't think that a passive income of $1 million is unachievable. It's going to take a lot of hard work, and I'm not naive to that fact. But I think for me, if I can get myself in a position like that, then I can use what I have to then help my family or my friends.
Yep.
And that's probably the biggest goal, not to have a figure and quantify things. It's to put myself in a position where I don't have to worry. So therefore my family and close friends don't have to worry as well. Like if they need help, I can be like, yep, what do you need?
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest thing. That's the biggest goal.
Yeah. That's why I say, I always get a lot when we have a chat. It's like, hey, look, I'm looking to do the next thing. I'm like, oh, perfect. Let's push ourselves and I think that's where if we play a bigger game personally, clients will come on that journey. Clients play a bigger game, their family comes on that journey. They set a standard, then their friends come on that journey, or the ones that in your group that you connect with or that want to be like that person, they come on that journey as well. So that compound wealth effect, someone's good decision is going to kind of lead to some better decisions being made by other people. I know in our team, I'm like, guys, girls, yeah, you earn an income, but don't only trade your time, build that to build other assets, invest in yourself. That investment in yourself is probably the greatest investment you'll make instead of in a property. You grow your ability to earn an income, translates into property. Now you're not trading your time, and now you can trade up on assets as well, right?
Investing in yourself is a very key thing you've just said.
Yeah.
Because if I guess that's what I see it as. If I'm learning about property and all these metrics and everything that goes into it, I'm investing in myself, and I'm hopefully using that to then achieve bigger things. So definitely invest in yourself first.
Yeah. That's probably the one. I just did a 100th episode reflection, and so one of the big things was what's one of the biggest learnings I've had after interviewing this many people for our own personal podcast, and the amount of times that you get these really good buyers agents or people that have built quality portfolios. What's the one thing they've all got in common? They've all invested in themselves, and people think they're investing in their properties, their greatest return on their investment. It's actually their investment in themselves. So whether it's a mentor, whether it's a personal coach, whether that's going through, some seminars or some workshops or immersion activities, for example, that's given them their greatest uplift in personal wealth and well-being, and then that's translated into their own wealth position as well on paper.
Yeah, for sure.
So what do you do to invest in yourself then?
Well,
very personal question.
As a whole, doing things that make you happy, but in regards to property, just, making sure I educate myself and, like you said, not so much doing the seminars, but read the things, listen to the podcasts and just consume as much content as I can to learn.
Yeah.
That's what I think investing in myself is.
I love it.
Educating myself.
Yeah, perfect. If you're looking back on your journey, a common question that people will say is, what could you have done differently, better, with the benefit of hindsight as well, Shari?
Oh, what could I have done differently or better? Good question. I
ask only good questions here. Right?
I don't actually think, in general, I would do anything differently. Nice. It's unfortunate what happened. With me and with work and being medically retired. But if that all didn't happen, I would just be sitting comfortably in my old job, not thinking about investments, because I've still got this income coming in and I don't have to worry. So, I I don't actually think I would change
Well said.
that kind of aspect. Yeah, because if that didn't happen, I wouldn't be in this position and I wouldn't have got a bit of a kick in the butt to get my life together and start myself on this journey.
I love it. That is, I think that comfort within yourself when you speak to people that dwell on maybe missed opportunities. I should have bought that property. I wish I did. It's like, hey mate, that's happened. You missed out on that. You're never gonna get that time again. I wish I bought before COVID. Hey mate, before that you probably weren't in enough space to be ready to buy, for example. And yeah, I feel like that attitude that you've got, which is I don't really have regrets or I could have done things better or differently, it shows a lot of maturity as well, because quite often that's the story we hear. I could have bought that property years ago. I'm like, mate, you were still in uni years ago. You couldn't have financially afforded to buy against the market as well. But I think I keep saying it, to get into the market is a cross between ability and attitude. And I think you've definitely had both, which is you've got an attitude, which is I don't want to take no for an answer. I want to find a way to get it done and I can keep going and growing. And the other one is the ability. So yes, some people have said no, but you've gone, hey, look, I think I do have a way here, and kind of pounded the pavement and got it done. So I want to say well done to you. Clients feel nervous to come on because they feel a little bit self-conscious that their portfolios aren't big enough. Yeah.
Massive imposter syndrome.
All right, exactly.
Yes.
Whereas I say, look, your own journey is going to inspire someone else. And if you can just inspire one person by what you've done, you're already on that way to making an impact by the time you're 40, right? It's already happening now. So you've probably inspired people in your own circle, and now you're inspiring people that you probably haven't even met, which I think is a real credit to you. So don't take it lightly, the time that you've spent here today. I want to say thank you very much. I really appreciate it as well. You've got notes here, but I'm going to say you didn't even need them, because there's all lives inside your head in terms of your experience and and what you've brought to the table. So I want to say congrats to you on what you've built, and I wish you every success with your future game plan as well.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you having me. And if what's happened to me, my story can help someone with their journey, then even if it's just one person, like you said,
exactly it. Mission accomplished.
Job done. I'm so happy.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Someone asked me, like, what's your listeners or downloads? I'm like, mate, I don't want to know. All I know is that when people have reached out and said, hey, I've listened to your podcast, I want to have a chat, I'm like, that's it. A couple of people have been more than a couple, but in my mind, we've just helped pay it forward to a few listeners, and now they're kind of reaching out. I'm like, hey, mate, mission accomplished here. So, this chat's going to go a long way in terms of helping and inspiring others, because it's a real story, not scripted. There's no agenda here. And I want to say thank you very much again for agreeing to be on here as well. Well done.
Thank you for having me.
Wonderful. If you found this episode helpful, we'd love a review. For example, if you have a story like Shari where you feel like you've been told no and you want to turn that no into a yes, look, naturally we'd love to help, but don't stop is our core message here until you get the answer that you want to hear. So that's a wrap for another episode of the Australian Property Investment Podcast. I'm your host, Aaron. Until next time, take care.